In a way, the negotiations, you negotiated a tax cut people didn't think you were going to get, but you did.
Yep.
And you negotiated a China trade deal that people didn't think you'd get, but you did. I wanted to ask you, do you want to build on the China trade deal, point number one? And point number two, your use of tariffs as a negotiating tool, which I think is something you taught me and a lot of other people.
Well, tariffs give you tremendous power over countries when they're doing bad things, including war, okay? Including war. I tell the story that with France, as an example, they were putting, you remember when that sort of a lousy period where they wanted to tax American companies very much. And we had Mnuchin go in and try and negotiate, and you were involved a little bit, but primarily Treasury went in and they went to Macron and they said, you can't do this. No, no, no. And they were going to tax American companies a lot. And I said, get it done. It's not hard. Get it done. And they didn't get it done. And they came to see me and they say, it's not going to happen. He's going to tax American companies. And I called him up. You remember? And I said, Emmanuel, you're going to tax American companies. I don't want you to tax American companies. We don't do that to you, and you're not going to do it to us. Oh, it is too late. I'm sorry. I said, okay, it's too late. You get it changed in 15 minutes, or I'm putting a 100% tariff on all of the wine and all of the champagne that comes into the United States. We have stuff that's just as good or better. And we're going to charge you a 100% tariff on every single bottle of wine and champagne that comes in from France into the United States. No, 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 you cannot do that. I said, I can do that. I'm ready to sign it, and it'll take place on Monday morning, and that'll be it. He calls back in 15 minutes. Okay, we won't. Do you remember that?
I do.
I used that to do it. Now, that's using the power of tariffs. And we can do it better than anyone because we're the big buyer, but eventually we won't be the big buyer because our country's going to hell, and we're not going to be the big buyer. We have power, but it's waning. In fact, it's waning in terms of our currency. And I'm not just talking about the value of our currency. I'm talking about our currency being used throughout the world.
You want it to remain. You want the dollar to remain the world's reserve currency.
Well, I think it's bigger than losing any war. I think if it doesn't, look, we are already reverting to third world status in many ways. You look at our airports, you look at our terminals, you look at our filthy roads and broken roads and everything else. We're like a third world country. We have something that's very powerful, and that's our dollar all over. But you take a look at what's happening to it now with other countries not using it. And you know China wants to replace it with the yuan. And it was unthinkable with us. Unthinkable. Would never have happened. Now people are thinking about it. That could happen. And if that happens, that would be one of the worst things to happen to this country in 200 years.
How would you handle that vis-a-vis China, for example?
Well, I'd say to them, look, you are trying to destroy the dollar. You are trying to take over other countries that now trade in the dollar, and they're going to trade in the yuan. And that's okay, but if you're going to do that, we're not going to do any business with you whatsoever, and we're going to tariff the hell out of your products, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And 100% I win, 100%. And they'll leave it alone. But we can't lose. If we lose the dollar, if we lose that, the value of that, and it's not just symbolic, that's a big deal. That brings us to a level that I don't think is necessarily recoverable. Don't forget, they have 1.4 billion people. India has 1.5 billion people. We have, how many people are coming into our country? We have no idea what it is. But let's say it's 325 million people, 350 million people. We have no idea. You know they have no idea, Larry. People are pouring in. Other countries know how many people they have. We don't. But we're at 350 million, and they're at 1.4 billion. Another one's at 1.5 billion. We have got we need some strength, and that gave us tremendous power and tremendous strength. But we're losing that. We're losing that power. And if we lose that, if the dollar no longer is that, blessed event, I think we'd be in serious, serious financial trouble as a country.